what are your goals for the future, both in your athletic career and beyond?
For me, right now, I'm trying to get into sports commentating. I received my bachelor's degree from Georgia State University in broadcast journalism. So my next step is to become a sports commentator and stay around the game.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Sports Told by You. I'm your host Kyla and today we have a very special guest joining us. We are thrilled to welcome Jada Lewis. Jada is a 3-time state championship from MacEachern High School. She is a 7A Georgia Player of the Year, McDonald's All-American nominee. She attended Georgia State University where she received the Sun Belt Freshman of the Year award. More importantly, throughout high school and college at Georgia State and Mercer University, she maintained a 4.0 GPA. After years in college, she played professional basketball in the EuroLeague, in the Euro Cup in Sweden. Beyond the accolades, and Jada is admired for her integrity, leadership, and commitment to youth athletes all over the country. Today we'll dive in into Jada's experience, exploring the highs and lows of her journey through college and playing pro journey, and valuable lessons she learned along the way. We'll also get into a glimpse of her future and aspirations. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Jada Lewis.
Jada, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank y'all for having me on the show. I'm so excited to be here.
No, you're excited. I don't think you're more excited than us. I mean, I think when I first met you via phone, just your energy came through the phone. And I knew this was someone that the youth needed to hear from, right? To hear your story, to hear your journey, and to glean something for you. So we're super excited to have Jada with us today. What about you, Kyle? You excited to have Jada here today?
Very excited to learn more about her and see how you went through with basketball and stuff.
For sure.
All right. Well, perfect, Jada. Before we get started, right? We always start off every episode with saying what we're thankful for. So I'll go first, right? Okay. So again, as always, I think this is Father's Day weekend, and when I always tell people I'm just thankful. I've earned a lot of titles in life, right? And one of the titles that I'm most proud of is being called the father. So to be able to sit here with my daughter and amazing young lady like yourself, absolutely. I'm truly thankful for the opportunity just to sit and be a part of what you guys are doing. So that's what I'm thankful for today. What about you? What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my father and all my family and God, and just to be here and to learn more about Jada.
Nice. What about you, Jada? What are you thankful for?
I'm going to piggyback off of what both of you said. I'm thankful for my father as well, and all the dads out there. I wish y'all a happy Father's Day, and I'm just thankful for another day to be here and glorify God. So.
Oh, man, I couldn't agree more. Well, you ready to ask some questions and get to know you a little bit?
Yes, let's get into it.
Kyle, I'll pass it to you. You want to kick us off?
Sure. Okay. Tell us about the role your mom and dad and family has played in your development.
Oh, that's a great question. So, my mom and my dad, they're a huge part of my life. I actually have their names on my arm. It's the only tattoo that I have of my parents, and it's just to honor them because they were always just great to me growing up. They taught me work ethic. They taught me how to be respectful. They taught me about God, which is, I'm very spiritual and
yes.
I love the Lord. So, they just helped raise me into the woman I am today, and I'm just so appreciative to have two parents, that were in my life for my entire life and just instilled so much into me. So.
Wow. Well, shout out to your parents. I'm glad Kyla kicked us off with that, especially in the Father's Day weekend. But to hear the role that your parents play and to see your face as you talk about them is amazing. So we talk about your parents a little bit. Right. I'm sure they pushed you to who you are. Let's get into some sports now. Okay. Let's talk about, I have your sheet here, and there are a lot of stats and accolades. Kyle only read a few of them on here, but I'll read a few more just to talk about it. At MacEachern, you were a 3-time state champion, 2014, 15, yes, MacEachern, and 16. 3-time region champion, a 7A region player of the year, 3-time all-region. The list goes on. All Naismith, first team, USAT. I mean, listen, this is a long list. ESPN ranked 27 guard class of 2015. How did you do it? Like, what was your motivation? What pushed you to earn all these awards and be a part of this special team?
Yeah, so it's so crazy. I didn't start playing basketball until I was 10 years old. I grew up with 3 brothers. I'm the only girl, so I was in and out of a lot of sports. And when I found basketball, that's the one that really stuck with me the most. So I really just fell in love with it. But see, growing up, I had no idea what a trainer was. I had no idea people worked out outside of practice. So I really grew up on the game, through the athleticism and playing with my brothers, outside or wherever. And so once I really learned what training was and you know, you work out, you could do all this speed and agility and all of this, and you could hire a trainer. I was like, you know, I really want to take it to the next level.
Right.
And so prior to all the accolades, you know, I always tell people, you know, it's really about the journey, you know, before you even reach all that and the work that you put in before that. So, you know, for me, I never expected any of that. You know, God just blessed me in that sense. And it was through the hard work that I did where everything just paid off for me. But I was a late bloomer. You know, if you look at my history before high school, I wasn't supposed to win, you know, 3 state titles. I wasn't supposed to be a player of the year because I was one of those players that was doubted. You know, people didn't, like when I got off the bus, and I don't mean, you know, I'm not saying like literally when I got off the bus, but like people didn't look at me and say, oh, she's going to be an All-American, or she's going to be, you know, like I kind of had to prove myself over the years. And then, you know, everything just started coming for me, you know, from working hard. So I don't know. I was just blessed for all of that to happen.
Jada, I think you said something everything you just talked about is super important, right? Mm-hmm. I think for, you know, me and Alex was just talking about this earlier in the week. Mm-hmm. There are more of you, people who have to work hard, who have to get it out the mud, so to speak, than there are the 1%ers, you know, DNA gifted, jumping out the gym. Sure. I mean, they just have that it factor, right? There's more of common people like us who have to work and get every inch that we gain in life, right? So absolutely. I think when people hear your response, there was so much that you said that I hope youth athletes and parents can glean. Mm-hmm. Hard work, fall in love with the process, the journey, right? Yes. Understanding that, hey, when I get off the bus, they're not looking at me. There's other people they probably are worried about. Right. But that chip on your shoulders and grind it out and work it out is amazing. I'll go one more. Let's just talk about it, because you're about the third athlete that I've talked to that has won a state championship. And I always tell people, I know a lot of athletes.
And has gotten the, like, freshman title.
Right, the titles, right? But you've won 3 state championships. Most people don't win one. I've never, in my career, I never won 1 state championship. Never coached one. So what was it like winning multiple state championships and the pressure and everything that went into that?
Oh, man, it was special. Like I always tell, no matter what championships are just special.
Right.
You know, and what I always say, even when I was coaching at the high school level, I always told them, like, it's really about the journey more so than it is about the rings that you get and the trophy that you hold up at the end. Like, when you see those moments of people holding up the trophy and maybe shedding a tear and hugging teammates and hugging coaches, you know, you thinking about the suicides you had to run.
Right.
You know, you thinking about the practices you got up for, you know, early in the morning. I know a lot of people at MacEachern, they say, well, y'all had all the talent in the world, which we did, but I think people discredit the fact that we had to work hard to win those state titles back to back to back to back, right? Like, we came in on days that I know high school students weren't going to practice. So we came in, you know, holidays, we were in the gym practicing. Saturdays in the gym practicing, like all day. So, you know, we put in the work to get there, and that's the most beautiful part. It's not even really winning the state title in the end, you know, and just to do it with other like-minded people who love the game as much as you do, who want it. You know, you build a sisterhood, you understand what that's about. And yeah, it was just special, just a blessing, you know, a blessing overall.
Absolutely. Kyle, I'll throw it to you. Anything?
Okay. What are your goals for the future, both in your athletic career and beyond?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that question. So for me right now, I'm trying to get into sports commentating. You know, I received my bachelor's degree from Georgia State University in broadcast journalism. So my next step is to become a sports commentator and stay around the game, you know, somehow, so I could give back to the game how I can, whether that be, you know, in a coaching aspect, TV and media, which is, you know, really what I'm passionate about. So, yeah, something with sports and TV kind of intersecting and combining itself together. Yeah. Great
question. Well, I told you off air and when we talk, we're looking to help you do that. So you're more than welcome. What is it? Mi casa, su casa. So our house is your house. So whenever you want to come back and practice and use this facility for whatever you need to chase those dreams, to get to where you want to be, because I believe you can with your basketball knowledge, your social skills, just the way you communicate. And your degree, I think you'd be great on air. You spoke about, to go back a little bit, You talked about the sisterhood. Those teams, you had some pretty good players on there. Could you recall? I mean, you talked about the W. I love the way you refer to WNBA as the W.
Yes.
Some of your sisters went on to play professionally. Some of them. Could you talk about some of the players that was on those teams with you
Absolutely.
and how you guys came together?
Yeah. So I'll start with my AAU team, because that's when I first started playing, and I was on a really good team. We were #1 team in the country for years, like
Right.
really throughout my entire year of playing AAU. And shout out to Coach Pointer. He passed away, so rest in peace. He had a huge impact on my life and the game of basketball. But on that team, I played with Kayla Pointer. Kayla went on to play at LSU. She then was drafted by the Indiana Fever, and she plays overseas now. I played with Q Morrison, who is my best friend. She played at the University of Georgia, had a great career there, and she's now playing in Italy.
Love Italy, by the way. Have
Yes,
you ever been? Yes.
Italy is amazing.
Well, let's make a disclaimer. He went without me, my brother. Without
Well,
me,
you'll
my
go
brother.
one day.
Yes.
So I have an experience.
My bad.
No, it's okay. I also played. So on that team, I played with Naja Woolfolk. She played at Florida State University, and then she played overseas. I played with Kiera Johnson Graham. She went to Liberty University, and she didn't play pro after, but she ended up getting a GA position, so she stayed around the game. I mean, it was a lot of players on that team. We all ended up receiving a Division I full scholarship and going to play, which is what it's all about.
Yes.
You getting that scholarship to get the degree and playing a game you love at the same time. And then at MacEachern High School, I played with Taya Cooper. She was drafted to Phoenix, but was traded to LA Sparks.
Yep.
So she played in a W for a little bit. And she was just a great player to play with in high school. I played with Kalia Robinson. She played at UGA and also played in a W. I played with Taylor Gordon. She ended up going to Wake Forest and NC State, I believe. But yeah, I just played. I was very fortunate and blessed to play around great players, because from there I learned, like, it's not about who the best. It really doesn't matter. Like, when you learn how to play with people who are just as great as you, to me, that prepares you for any level, because as you go up, the players only get better.
Absolutely.
So when you already have that experience of knowing, hey, if you might be better than me, I know about competing. Every day in practice, I'm going to compete. You're going to compete with me for that spot. I understand that part of the game. I was able to understand it from middle school on. So that was never, like a thing for me where somebody may have gotten more shine, because it was all about just playing the game, loving the game, and having the opportunity to do that. To me, playing basketball, it's a privilege. It's a blessing to do. It's not something that you like. I don't know. I just am thankful to God that He created the game, because it's like, I don't know. I just love it.
Yes, it's coming out of you. I'll pass you, Kyle. You want to talk GPA? I mean, we talked about our.
Yes. She has a 4.0 GPA. So how did you maintain that, like, with basketball and then as well with the schoolwork and, like, family and friends and distractions?
For sure.
Distractions.
Yeah, so since a young age, I've always been a very driven person, a very focused person. It was just characteristics that God gave me that I'm very thankful for. So it's very hard for me to get distracted. I'm a locked in person. I don't too much. I like to stay in the house, so I don't do, even as a kid, I wasn't the one to go to birthday parties or do, I didn't even go to my high school prom. Like, I was just focused on basketball in school, and I actually loved school just as much as I loved basketball. So that helped, because when you love something, you're going to give a little more to it because you're passionate about it. So as far as maintaining a 4.0 GPA, I think that's also where my parents came in. Is just, they always just expected excellence out of me. They never wanted me to be somebody else's best, but my best. And I knew, I always held myself to a high standard. So my best was going to be a 4.0, yes. Why have a 3.8 when you can have a 4.0?
Right.
Or why have a 2.8 when you can have a 3.0? You know what I'm saying? So for me, I always just held myself to a high standard, and I wanted to be excellent in every aspect of my life. I never wanted people to just look at me and say, oh, she's just a basketball player. She's just an athlete. Like, I know I was created to be so much more, so that's why I took a lot of pride in academics.
Because a lot of people just use their athletic, like, to get on and move on. But, like, when you have both, it's, like, great.
For sure.
I couldn't agree more to both of you, just to hear you talk about your parents and the role not your, anyone else's best, yours, but the excellence, like you said, why not shoot for excellence? Why not have 4.0? And I love the discipline, the focus, and I hope the young athletes out here watching understand that is possible. It's possible to be great. But I think what I hear you talk about with people, I don't want people to miss is there's a price to pay for greatness. There's a price that you have to pay to be at the top of your game. When you talk about some of these people that are gifted and make it to the next level, you hear Michael talk, you hear Kobe talk.
For sure.
There are shots being put up. There's early mornings. There are late nights. You are missing parties. You're missing some of the fun things you want to do to try to chase your opportunity of being great. So I love the fact to hear you talk about that.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No, absolutely.
While it's fresh on my mind, like just going back to the accolades, something that I would just want young athletes to hear. Anybody who receives it is just as far as the accolades. I remember my trainer Dorian Lee.
Is he still training now, Dorian?
He trains now, so if you look for
you want to shout out Dorian?
Yes, shout out to Dorian Lee. His Instagram is bball101. He changed my life as far as basketball. He's very spiritual with the game, so it's not just about basketball. Like, he teaches you life. He's gonna teach you skill, and he really just helped bring out what was already in me. But he was that person that I believe was divine, sent by God, and just helped me understand basketball and understand that, I was always great and I never needed, a ranking or a certain scholarship from a certain school to prove that for me. So shout out to Dorian for sure. And just something he taught me was when you do things because you love it, great things come anyway. So as far as the accolades, when you read the list, it's like I never expected any of that. I stopped expecting it, at least because when you get caught up in social media and all of or what somebody else is doing, they might have all of these things, but if you just focus on your process and your journey and you do it because you love it, then all of those things come. It's not even about the accolades is what I'm saying. And when you do something because you love it and you give your all to it, it gives back to you in so many different ways. So that's how the accolades came for me. It wasn't because I even seeked any of that or wanted it per se, because I was always just a humble kid, humble person. And all of those things God blessed me with, I think, because of how much work I put in and just what I gave to the game. So
yeah, Jade, I love that response, and I'm so glad you cut me off. You didn't cut me off. I'm so you stopped me to make that point, right? Because that's what the show is about. That's the reason you're here today. That's the reason we connected. So you can pass that message of intangibles,
sure.
the work, the process, right? Falling in love with the game. So many athletes I've coached that they say they love it. I often ask my son sometimes, you say you love it, but you rather play video games for 8 hours. You don't want to get up push-ups or shots or catch some passes. And he's learning that process now. But to all the people that's going to hear your voice, I hope they don't miss what you just said. Fall in love with the process, and the accolades will come. I think so far it's switched now with social media. Everybody sees all the offers and accolades, and people think I have to get those, but they're just do the work. Great, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, let's talk about what position you play. Okay. And how you started that position.
Great question.
Yeah, so some people are shocked when I say this. What position you think I play? I'll let you guess first. What you think?
Point guard.
Point guard. Okay, you have one of them right. So I played a point guard. I was a shooting guard, and I could play as a 3 guard on the wing. That's another thing on the court. I always wanted to be versatile, so I made sure I knew the plays. At a point guard position, you have to know everybody's position from 1 through 5. But I always wanted to be flexible in the offense, and my coaches moved me. They were able to move me around in that way because I could score. So. I was able to affect the game passing and creating shots for other people and myself. And so that's how I was able to play a 2 guard too. And then they could move me to the 3 and I could still be effective. So I played 3 different positions and I loved it. Yeah.
How do you maintain all of those positions and adapt to the different positions when they put you in for those positions?
Yeah, so it just goes back to all of the different teams that I played on, playing on great teams with great players. It's important that you know how to play multiple positions, because that way it gives the coach, okay, I can put her in this spot. I could put her in right here in the offense, because I know that she can do all of those things. She. So that's what really helped me adapt and be able to do that is just like taking it upon myself to study the offenses and even study my teammates and learn and want to be versatile. That was the thing for me. I wanted to be a versatile player. So
Yes.
Awesome. So let's since we're on there, we kind of talk about MacEachern High School, all the amazing things you guys did there. Let's go to Georgia. You accepted. Let's talk about your recruiting process.
Okay.
So we talk about that, your offers, how many you had, and then we'll talk about your time at Georgia State.
Yeah, so, okay, I received my first, so playing on that AAU team where we were the number one team in the country, you know, that was really great for me. You know, like I said, where I come from, like, my family had never had exposure like that of college coaches. You go into a game and they're sitting, 100 college coaches
Courtside.
sitting courtside watching you play. That was new for me in my life, you know. So I received my first letter from LSU, actually.
Go Tigers.
In 7th grade. I got my first letter, and I didn't know the difference from offers and letters, you know.
You said
so
in 7th grade?
In 7th grade.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, like, you know, they want me to come to the school, but, you know, a letter is just interest. You know, that's like, hey, we got our eye on you. We're going to be coming to your games a lot. And so, you know, that for me, that was a special moment.
Absolutely.
You know? But like I said, I didn't understand that you have to get better and better. They want to see you better every time they come see you play. So I wasn't doing any training. You know, I didn't understand training and really get into it until I would say 10th grade going into 11th grade. That's when I really started working hard. So I actually had 3 offers coming out of high school. I always say I had the Steph Curry story, you know, without his work ethic, though, at the time, because it didn't come until late for me. But I had offers from Georgia State, Elon, and UNC Wilmington. And those were my 3 offers. I had a bunch of college letters, but y'all don't confuse college letters for offers. You know,
Right.
offer is, you know, we extending the offer to you a full scholarship or whatever the scholarship is for you to come to the school on their behalf, and they pay for it. But yeah, I was 3 offers out of high school. It was kind of hard for me because, again, I played on great teams. So a lot of people around me, they were going to the UGAs and the Florida States and the LSUs and all of these BCS schools. That's what we call them, big time
Absolutely,
schools.
yeah.
And I knew I was good enough to go to those schools, but, you know, I didn't have the offers to show it. You know, I had to go with the school that wanted me. And so out of all those 3 schools, you know, they all recruited me pretty hard, but I knew Georgia State was, you know, where God wanted me to go and where I was supposed to go. And I look back on it, it was very hard for me to appreciate that moment because of the politics around the game and because my friends going to these bigger
Right.
schools. But, you know, as far as me giving back to the youth and something I want to make sure, you know, young girls and even young guys know is please choose a school that chooses
Yes.
you. You know, that's with anything. Choose who chooses you. That's standard for the rest of your life, you know. And I felt, you know, Georgia State chose me, but I couldn't see it at the time because, you know, even older people and people around me, they don't tell that story. You know, they kind of tell the go to the UGA story or go to this school because that is what gets you to the next level. But you can make it from anywhere, you know, as long as you have the work ethic, the drive, the focus, and you're developing year by year, you can make it from mid-major, low major, D2, D3, it doesn't matter. And choosing Georgia State was one of the best decisions of my life because, like I said, they treated me, you know, like they wanted me there. They gave me the keys pretty much, which means, in other words, they allowed me to play. I started as a freshman, you know.
Wow.
I played 40 minutes my freshman year almost
And
every
before
game.
you get too far
go
into,
ahead.
and I'm glad you talked about, because you talked about in the pre-interview, going where you're wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of parents and kids that are going to see this, that is important.
Yes.
Again, you can go to, not saying if you can ball, you go to wherever you're wanted, but some kids go to these colleges where they won't even see the court
Yes.
field in 2 years if they're
Yes.
lucky, right? And other
Right.
5 stars, 4 stars see they're coming in, but you go to somewhere where you are a freshman
Yes.
hooping, you know, and Georgia
Yeah.
State's it's a very good school.
Very good school,
But
yeah.
continue. I just want to make sure we highlight that point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like, you know, like mentors and coaches, we gotta do a better job of taking that
Yes.
stigma off of you have to go to these top schools, and if you don't, you know, you're less likely to make it or whatever the narrative is, because that's not true. You know, you see Ja Morant, He went to Murray
Yes,
State.
great example.
And he is one of the best players in the world.
Great example.
Even Curry, he went to Davidson.
Yes.
So the mentality got to change to, I'm going to go to the school that wants me, and then I'm going to make an impact. I'm going to lead a place better than I found it, which is what I turned my mentality into. Once I got past the politics and got past that false stigma that's around going mid-major, I was like, you know what? I'm going to embrace going to Georgia State, which I did, and I'm going to make sure I lead a place better than I found it. I'm going to make an impact, and then I'm still going to make it to the next level. So,
and go ahead. I'm sorry.
How did that first letter that LSU sent you when you're in the 7th grade, showing you that they see you and that they recognize you're playing?
Oh man, it was.
Did
I can't even. I can't even describe the feeling. It was exciting because, like I said, in my family and where I come from, that didn't happen.
Right.
So for that to actually happen, for me, it was just, I don't know. I was just like, oh my gosh. So I'll give you a funny story. I bought LSU pants because I ended up going to the camp that year. So I bought pants. I bought a shirt. I bought a LSU hat, like I'm going to LSU, this is it, not just fixating on LSU. And I actually wore, where I went to school at Tapp Middle School, and we had to wear uniforms. And I said, Mom, I'm not wearing a uniform today. I just got a letter from LSU. And so I'm wearing all LSU gear. And I did, and I didn't get in trouble or anything because, I was really good in school, so they let me slide that day. But I was excited. I was super excited.
You were all in.
I was
purple
all
and gold.
They all start rolling in.
Yeah.
So talking about Georgia State, you talked about playing as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
You won Sun Belt Freshman of the Year. You did some pretty cool things at Georgia State.
Yes.
How was that in your freshman year to be awarded Freshman of the Year?
Oh man, that feeling was a great feeling because, one, I didn't expect any of that. Again, going back to what my trainer taught me, I never went into something saying, hey, I'm going to do this and that and the third, set these expectations that you don't even have to set, because if you just play the game and work hard, these things come anyway. So that was that. But I will say it was a journey and it was hard. It wasn't something I just woke up doing. I remember when I first got to campus, going back to what I said, I was a very focused person.
Right.
So it was school and basketball for me. It was no parties, and to each his own, everybody does their own thing, but I knew who I was and I'm not easily swayed, so my teammates actually used to laugh at me because I would go to the gym. Our first day there after team meeting, I was like, hey, can somebody let me in the gym? I actually got my card and I tapped in and I was in the gym working, and I could see my teammates outside the gym. They was like laughing at me like, she like working out, and I'm like, yeah, So I say it was difficult because coming in as a freshman and people around you, they like almost like you get the, who does she think she is?
Right.
You get the, why you working out so much? We don't do that here, because when I went to Georgia State was still building and turning the program over. So I had a lot of teammates that didn't love the game. They were just there because they wanted to get the degree and they used their scholarship to get it. They didn't want to win championships like I did. So, that's a battle, because that means my mentality is night and day compared to theirs. But I stayed with it. I stayed with the process. And I said, if I'm a great player like I know I am, then I'm going to have the ability to change them. And that's what ended up happening. I remember by the end of the year, they would come to the gym with me. Nobody would come to the gym with me. And by the end of the year, I had 6 people that would come to the gym with me on a Saturday. And for me, that's a win, because they wouldn't come at all, So, and then I would have them, when it was film session, they would come and they would watch extra film with me. So I was like, I know I did my due diligence, because I'm all about impacting people around me. It's not even about winning Sun Belt Freshman of the Year. If I can make somebody else better or make the school better, I won. So, yeah. It was...
I love that. I was just telling my son a funny story, and I've always said this in leadership business, talk about being a change agent.
Yes.
I always used to ask leaders, I used to give leadership talks, and I would ask the young leaders, are you a thermometer? Or, are you the thermometer or I'm having a brain fart here now, but one tells the temperature and the thermostat sets the temperature.
Yes.
Which one are you going to be? Right. And I used to always talk to them about being the thermostat, right? You want to turn the temperature up. So funny story. My son's going to Woodward now, and he's a freshman. And I told him, I said, listen, bro, you're already behind. You're on the smaller side. You have to work more than others. So I said, every day after practice, when everybody's done, I'm not coming watch them. You're on your own, but you need to get you another 1,000 yards, meaning sprinting 100 yards, 10 push-ups on every end. And it was so funny. I pulled up the watch, and just like you, the kids were kind of looking at him, laughing like, who's this guy? What is he doing?
Right.
And every day he's been running on his own, just watching.
Yeah.
But people notice, the coaches notice that.
Yeah.
And it's funny, more people nobody's joined him yet, but I suspect, like you said, if he keeps it up, before long, other people are going to start joining him on that.
For sure. And when you're a leader, like when you called to be a leader, which I always knew I was called to be a leader and be in leadership roles, like you just have to embrace being the oddball for once. You have to embrace people maybe not liking you for a little bit. You have to embrace people questioning some of the things you do. And you know, again, once you make that impact, that's when people start following. Of course, they want to see the results.
Absolutely.
Too. So, you know, once the hard work started paying off for me, because I go back, like my freshman year, I struggled the first few games. Like I really struggled. It was a roller coaster. So I would have games where I would have 16 one night and I would come back and I may have 10. And for me, you know, 10 was me sitting in a coach's office and they looking at me like, what is wrong with you tonight? You know, like I was expected. In other words, I was expected to put the ball in the basket and help the team win. And so I struggled. I went through the struggle phase. And then once I really got consistent and started to take off, that's when they were like, okay, I don't know what she's doing behind the scenes and this, that, but we want to follow her. So people, they started following and they appreciated. It's not even about, you know, them following me per se. Like it's just they appreciated the grind I was putting in. They appreciated the passion I had for the game, and just to see it rubbing off people who may not want to play professionally it was amazing feeling. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great story. One other thing I want to call out here about your time, well, two other things in Georgia State. I think it's important to note that for anybody watching out there, again, and Kyla talked about it, 3-time Sun Belt all academic team, 4.0. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, you can do both, kids. Like, you can still be great and still be great in the classroom too, especially now in college where you're dictating your schedule. No one's waking you up. There's no parents. You're deciding to put this effort forward. So I love that. I want to make sure I call that out. Led the team in scoring. But one thing I want to talk about here is postseason. Georgia State hadn't been to the NCAA tournament, March Madness, in over 20 years. And you're a part of that change. And so you just talked about getting in the gym early, putting those shots up, being a change agent. Could you talk about, you know, I saw the pictures and we'll definitely put them on in the interview, but could you talk about that moment when you guys clinched that opportunity to get to the March Madness?
So with Georgia State, March Madness, that was with Mercer, but with Georgia State, no, it's okay. We went to a first postseason in 20 years. It was the WBI, and it's a postseason. So you got the WNIT, you have March Madness, and you got the WBI. And so for us to, you know, any postseason is a good postseason, especially when you're a program that doesn't see,
right.
You know, your last game is usually that last conference game. So to be able to do that, I mean, it's just a testament to all the hard work that not only I put in, but my teammates, because of course I couldn't have done that alone. And even the coaches that worked hard, you know, day in and day out. We did that under Coach Hill's leadership, by the way. But even before Coach Hill, like going back to Coach B, who was my head coach before that, like the change was happening before that, you know, and sometimes, you know, you experience that the glory, or you are part of the change process. So for anybody that came before then, they all experience a piece of that moment, because it's, you know, like I said, it's always about the journey to build up, you know, and thank God I was able to be a part of the experience of being in the postseason. But like I said, it's just a testament to the program changing over the years in a positive direction, and to be a part of that change and to be an engine of that change. It was just amazing, you know? And, yeah, it's amazing.
Anything, Kyle?
You?
Okay. So let's talk. We talked Georgia State now. Let's talk Mercer. You finish. You got some eligibility left. You move on to Mercer, and you do some good things there. Talking about the NCAA March Madness tournament. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah. So I'll talk about the process of me getting to Mercer. So it was very hard for me to leave Georgia State, for one, because, you know, I had been there by now for 3.5 years. I received my bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism. And I just envisioned myself being there, you know, I never intended to transfer. Never thought I would transfer.
Right.
But just being in tune in God, I knew I had done all that I was supposed to do while I was there. Like I knew I had conquered and finished the assignment. And so I said, you know what? I called my parents. I was like, I'm going into the portal. Like, I feel it's the time. Like, I had won all the accolades you could win in college. And my next step, I knew I wanted to win a conference championship. And so I hit the portal, and oh my gosh, I was so shocked because my phone, I promise you, I hit the portal, and 30 seconds later, my phone started ringing. It was college coaches either texting or calling, and I mean, from all over. Like, I experienced the BCS schools calling. I remember going back
and
to...
Jada, before you get too far, now the portal, could you talk about, like, this was what year was when you hit the portal?
COVID. So that was another layer to it. I went into the portal right when March Madness and all sports were shut down.
Right.
So I entered the portal. I ended up going to speak to I don't remember what the title is of people when you at your university and you go get your transfer papers, but I had to do all of that, and which was very hard again because I knew all of the administration. I had built relationships.
Right.
And so, you know, when you go in there like, oh, you leaving, you know, so it kind of hurt my heart a little bit, but I knew I had to make this big girl decision. So, yeah, I hit the portal and my phone was buzzing with college coaches calling and texting. And, you know, I experienced the BCS schools calling and texting. So it wasn't just mid-major. This was schools from all over, and they were great programs,
right?
Like winning programs. I even had, you know, my old teammates Kayla and another former teammate at LSU. They called trying to get me to come. So it was just a crazy process. But Mercer, interesting story about Mercer. Shout out to Coach Gardner, Coach Sid, Coach Ben, just their entire staff. Mercer's an amazing university. But a funny story about them. So a lot of people were actually shocked that I picked Mercer because Mercer,
especially when you're getting that interest from the portal, right?
Yeah. So I'm turning down all of these big time schools, right? And then Mercer that year, they were like 7-25. They maybe won 8 games. And so I had this guy, he sent a message to my Twitter, and he was like, when they found out I ended up signing with Mercer, they were like, wow, you chose Mercer. Like, I hope you like your new spot. You know, they were 8 and such and such. And you know, just kind of questioning my decision or saying, like, why would she do that? That's basically what it was. Like, why would you do that? And for me, that's why I'm glad I'm a person, like, I stay true to myself. I don't get caught up in what people say, because something I knew about Mercer, I knew they were just missing a piece. I knew they were missing the leadership that I knew I could provide.
Right.
I knew that their culture was there. Like, as far as they push you to be the best you could be, the academically is exceptional. I knew the coaches were great. Like, I knew they were the best spot to prepare me for where I was trying to go and for what I wanted to, which was to win a championship. And so despite their record and people telling me pretty much, for lack of better, like, they're not good.
Yeah, right.
You know, I'm like, okay. Like, that was my motivation. That was all I needed. Like, I drive, like, that's what drives me when people doubt.
Yes.
Remember? So I'm like, okay, definitely going to Mercer now. But I was going anyway. I signed, again, going to a school that I knew wanted me. Like, Coach Gardner cried when I came down for my visit, like, real tears. And I was like, you know, that's when I knew in my heart, like, we gonna do this. Like, I'm gonna make sure that I help get this university a championship, because that showed me how much she cared and how passionate she was, you know. And it was just crazy. Like, the news people, they were Zoom calling. They wanted me on the news. Like, it was just a lot. It was different for me, but it was also like a lot of the work I put in, like, it made me feel like people saw me.
Yes.
And despite, you know, not going to the big school, like, people really respected what I had done up until this point. So, yeah, I chose Mercer, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
I see the way you're smiling. I think for me, for anybody watching too, to understand as a coach and talk about the portal and how it's relevant today, I can come get a high school graduating senior, or I can get somebody who's played 2-3 years at the college level, who's filling the bucket up against NCAA competition.
Yes.
That could come, I know, can come in my conference and make a difference. So I think that's something why the portal, you're a prime example of what goes on in the portal. Like, a very accomplished, polished, academic. Like everything is there for me. I don't have to guess. I don't have to wonder about who you are.
Yes.
You have a resume of experience that shows me who you are. So the portal is very important. So cool. So y'all get to the NCAA and at Mercer.
Yes. So I'll talk about my time, if you don't mind.
Absolutely,
Talk about my time at Mercer. So Mercer, man, like, of course, we were in the COVID. The world was different.
Yes.
So, I didn't get to experience meeting all the other athletes like you would in a normal year where you get to meet all these people, even regular on-campus students. You just didn't have that.
Right.
Our coach we were basically in a bubble. Coach Gardner was not having us being around anybody because she wanted to complete the season as we all did. So we were kind of isolated, but it just made our bond that much closer. I mean, the workouts, this may sound like crazy to some people, but I loved hard workouts. I never wanted anything easy. And for Georgia State, I don't want to say it wasn't a challenge, but it wasn't as challenging.
Right.
When I got to Mercer, it was like, okay, the work I put in the off season, this is what I'm used to. So I felt like I was home in a sense because we were outside. We were on a football field. We running 100 yards. we running stadiums, but I love the grind. Like, you probably see me lighting up. Like, some people, they shy away from that type of work, but me, like, I want all the smoke. That's what they say. So like we got after it. I mean, in the preseason, and it felt like we deserved to win a championship, just the work we put in. I always tell this story. When I was at Georgia State, I used to watch the men's basketball team every single day. When Coach Hunter was there, Ron Hunter, they won, I think, 2 conference championships, played in March Madness while I was there. And I just would watch them and say, like, I'm going to experience that moment, but not even just the moment. I wanted to experience the practice they had, the competitiveness in practice, just them going at it every single day, like leaving practice tired. Like, I didn't really experience that at State, and then I go to Mercer and I get all of that. Like, we had practice competing. Practice every day is something changing.
And this was the 7 and 25 team.
Yes,
You're right.
This was and I came in, so Georgia State prepared me for the moment because I came in the leader. I didn't care anymore. Freshman year at Georgia State, I kind of cared what people think, what people thought. I'm sorry. And, I was young in that sense, but when I got to Mercer, I was like, you know what? We here to win a championship.
Yes.
So I'm coming in. Listen, I don't know if you might, everybody likes me in the end, but sometimes when you a leader, some days people like you, some days they don't. So I just didn't care. I'm like, listen, y'all, I just want to win. And I was very good adjusting as a leader. So I knew I probably couldn't yell at this teammate to like, come on, like, let's go. And this teammate, I might got to say, you got it. Like, let's go, be more encouraging. So that's where I had matured too as well.
Right.
And they actually, it was just like, I don't know, I just fit. Like, I didn't have to force anything, and they literally followed me like it.
Well, they knew who was coming, right?
Yeah,
they knew.
Yeah, but it's like that. It's like some people, they resist, because maybe they want to be that or they want it, but it was none of that. Like, it was truly a family environment. Everybody knew their role. Everybody wanted to play their role to the best of their ability. They allowed me to lead them. They allowed our coaches to lead them, of course, and our coaches were great at developing us and keeping us fit off the court, making sure we eating the right things. Like, it truly felt like I had went to a BCS school anyway.
Wow.
So it was amazing. Yeah.
Awesome story. Kyle Pastor, you want to talk about pro level?
Okay, so you played in the Euro League in the Euro League in Sweden. Tell me how you got there and how your process and how the process you got there and how it was being there.
Absolutely. So,
and like, was it different and stuff?
Yeah. So the process.
Well, Jada, before great question, Kylie. Before you answer that, Jada, I think it's important for people to understand, and even for you, professionally, for the pros. Like, this is for WNBA, for a women's player. This is big. You know what I'm saying? This is. I mean, so could you talk about? Making it professionally to play ball.
Absolutely. So one of my dreams as a kid, I always say, I want to play in the WNBA. I want to be a professional basketball player, and I want to be a sports commentator. So, you talk about the process of getting there. It started the minute I wrote that down on a piece of paper and the steps that I took to get there, working hard every single day. But, literally leading up to that moment, I remember we played in March Madness. Our first round game against South Carolina. Shout out to Dawn Staley too. I love what she represents women's sports to the T.
Absolutely.
You know, I love what she's doing at South Carolina, and I think she's a great representation of our game. So to be able to even stand on the same court as Don in the first round,
GOAT.
Like, I don't know, the story couldn't have been painted any better if you ask me. So we played South Carolina first round of the NCAA tournament at Mercer, and I remember the day after we finished the game, I had agents. They DM me on Instagram, you know, trying to represent me. So that was like the starting process. We got back to campus coming from Texas where we played first round, and I sat down with administrators at Mercer, which they did a great job of doing, and they did background research on all of these agents. So if you're going through this process, make sure you have people researching these agents or just, you know, doing it with you. Don't do this process alone. And so they helped me kind of choose the best agent and know these agents' backgrounds and just everything that goes in and out of it. They prepared me for the professional side of the game. So we started, you know, putting down resumes because believe it or not, you know, even when you're going into professional sports, they want to see some kind of resume sometime or most of the time. And so, yeah, they helped me for the business side, like the interviews, what to say, what you don't say, how you want to answer the questions. Like I had to go through all of this training. Wow. That's what we'll call it. And so I signed with my agent. And from there, it's like things started moving quick. So, you know, my agent and people around me, they knew I wanted to get to the W. So it was the LA Sparks, Connecticut Sun, and one more team that reached out to my agent like, hey, we interested in inviting her to a camp. And so, you know, for me, my eyes, I'm like, yeah, because I'm like, it's finally here. Like I've been working my whole life for this moment.
Yeah.
So I was telling my agent, I was like, yeah, just tell him, yeah. I'm like, just tell him, yeah. Like
I'll be there, yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, he called me back and he was like, Jada, like I could hear in his voice, like I was like, oh gosh. So he was like, yeah, you forgot to enter your name into the draft. So that year, COVID year, I believe was the first year you had to enter your name into the WNBA draft. So they knew you were coming out because a lot of players, they took another year. So they wanted to know which players they could choose from who for sure were entering. I didn't do that, and the deadline had already passed.
Wow.
So I wasn't able to take any of those training camp opportunities had they come. So, you know, I just said, you know, got to pivot. And I told my agent, I said, we just going to have a great first year overseas, and then I'll get to camp after that. And so, you know, after a few months, because it's a process of getting that first offer. It doesn't just happen like that, because a lot of times they do go after the WNBA players first. The ones who may have not made a roster and offer them contracts. And so for me, I had two contracts I was offered. One to play in, what was that country? I forget the country, but it was like a tropical country, really nice. And then I had an opportunity to play EuroLeague. And I said, you know what? EuroLeague, that's a big time league. Like, absolutely, it's unheard of for you to play in EuroLeague your rookie year. But I said, what have I been working my whole life for? You know, had I been playing in the WNBA, this would have been the same level of competition, if better though. And so I said, I'm going EuroLeague. Like I'm doing it. I'm going out there, and that's what I did. And yeah, it was just a blessing to be able to do that as a rookie. Wow,
that's amazing. That's congratulations on making it and to be able to have that experience. So we'll pivot a little bit. We've talked about a lot here today. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you just what are your thoughts on a couple of things? The WNBA. Sure. Obviously, it has made the last couple of years of women's basketball in college has brought a lot of eyes and attention to the WNBA. What are your thoughts on where the WNBA stands right now in women's basketball?
Oh, man, I love the WNBA. Shout out to the WNBA, everybody in it, everybody who represents it. And even if you're not in it, just everybody who follows that league. Like, I think it's growing so much in a positive direction. And you look at the talent that's coming out now, like Caitlin Clark, you got Juju Watkins coming, Paige Bucker's coming, and the people who have been in the W years ago, like the Cheryl Swoops, Diana Taurasi, even Dawn Staley, Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker, who's my favorite player and GOAT growing up. Like, every generation, every time period, every era, it's getting better and better and better. I think it's a great product to watch. I love that they're having the debates now on First Take.
Love it.
And ESPN.
Monica McNutt, yes.
Yes, shout out to Monica
Shout out
McNutt.
to Monica. I love Monica watching her.
Yes.
Yes.
They're talking about the women's game now. And like I said, I think it's a great product. It's great, to watch. And I'm just enjoying it. Like, I love it. So
I love the coverage of the Elle Duncan, who was from here on the radio. I used to listen to Elle with Ryan Cameron.
Went to the high school.
Yeah, MacEachern, she sure did.
Yes.
Yeah, Elle. I forget the other girl's name.
Andrea Carter.
Andrea Carter, and the third one is it? She's got African name, Nigerian.
Chinese. Ogumake.
Ogumake.
Yes.
But their coverage of the just was amazing.
Yes.
I mean, I enjoyed watching their coverage and their analysis. It was on point through the NCAA tournament.
For sure. Yeah, I love watching a breakdown of sports. I love, like, I'm sitting at home really debating with them,
Right.
I'm just not on TV, but I love watching the game. I think it's, like I said, I think it's growing every single year. The talent is getting better every single year, and it's just an appreciation, like I said, to everybody that came before. I know a lot of times we talk about Caitlin Clark, like she's the face, and to me, Asia Wilson as well.
Yes.
Asia Wilson is great representation of the game, but to me, it's all about the people that paved the way.
I agree.
For these girls, and even people like myself. Like, I truly appreciate those who came before, because they really put in the work for it to be to where it is now.
Right. Yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts on the Caitlin Clark debate? I mean, is she's getting unfair treatment? Let me further that question. Do you think she should have made the Olympic team?
I love you asking the question. So as far as the Olympic team, I do not think Caitlin Clark should have made the Olympic team. I think what people miss is the USA Olympics is a different entity than the WNBA, right? So even when people say from a marketing standpoint, like, she would have brought more eyes to the W. Well, she's going to bring more eyes to the W anyway. And yes, globally, but Caitlin Clark is going to make an Olympic team. So
Absolutely.
Just because, it doesn't happen now, like they always say, what's delayed is not denied. She will make the next Olympic team. So as far as the game growing, that is going to happen as far as she continues to touch a basketball and shoot hoops, right? But I think as far as the USA Olympic team, and this year, like, they picked the right team. I think
agree.
they did. I may have left Taurasi off of there, but given her track record, she
deserves it. Yes,
to be on the Olympic roster. So I think they did their due diligence and what they were supposed to do. And as far as Clark, she's going to make an Olympic team.
No doubt about it.
This just wasn't the year for that,
And I share the same sentiment as you. I mean, she's going to make it. But I thought, and one thing I love about the WNBA, people miss, the social media world misses. There are people that's been grinding and paving the way long before the eyes are coming. Like, these girls been hooping and can hoop at a high level.
Yes.
And that's why you're seeing them. They're not going at Caitlin. They love her, but
yes,
we've been doing this. Get in line, Caitlin. We've been out here waiting on these eyes.
Yeah, and another aspect to that is people don't understand international basketball, and I can say because I played over there, it's very different from the W. And that the hits that Clark is getting in the U.S. is very different from the type of physicality that you get internationally, where some of those fouls that, they like, that's a foul, they should have called it. That's not a foul over there internationally. So, again, she just, once she develops more and more and understands the pro level of the game, and then as far as fatigue, like, I know she's tired. She played college, she went to the W, and then you asked her to go play in Olympics. It just wasn't the time,
Agree.
And like you said, it's a pool of talented girls who prepared for the Olympics, who prepared for that moment. Like, chemistry, they talking about how chemistry plays a role. Like, a lot of those girls played in the Olympic trials,
right? The national team
with each other,
yes.
National team, so they understand each other, and the goal is to win gold, right? It's not to go and market ourselves, I think, and people miss that. Like, if that's for every U.S. Olympic team, the goal is for us to bring back the gold, right?
Yes.
So let's keep that the main thing, and yeah.
I love it. Well, Jada, we're getting to the end here.
Yes. So first off, happy Father's Day to all the amazing dads out there. If you're a dad, happy Father's Day. And to my dad, who is very special, near and dear to my heart. Thank you, Dad, for being such an amazing father and teaching me everything you taught me, teaching me love from a male's perspective. I appreciate you, everything you've done, the hard work and sacrifices you put in for me to be here today and become the woman I am. You're my hero, and I love you, and happy Father's Day.
Nice. Your turn. I'm listening. That's your...
Thank you for always being there for me, providing for me. I love you so much. I'm so grateful and thankful for you. You do everything that you do is not go unseen, and I love you for
I love you too, baby. Well, before we go, Jada, I always ask people, or Kyla always asks, because we want to play this back to you, right? I think you have I'll give it to, I'll set this up for you. I think you have an amazing future ahead of you. Just your personality, your love for God. I mean, the future's so bright for you. I just hope you don't forget about us when you make it, right? I always tell people that. But we always ask people, 5 years, I'll let you finish that.
In 5 years, where do you see yourself?
In 5 years? Oh, that's a great question. So in 5 years, I definitely see myself on TV, giving back to the game somehow. But definitely my main job being on TV and just finding ways to get into the community more, and just like how you all are doing things like this every single day, making that my lifestyle. I see myself, being a millionaire. Truthfully, I'll speak that into existence. And yeah, just living out my purpose that God has set before me. That's the main thing. So
I love it. Last thing for you, that's your camera again. If you were to give any youth any advice, I mean, this whole interview has been filled with things that a youth athlete, a parent can glean from.
Yes.
And anything you would like to sum up that you would give, someone you're training or someone you're just talking to, a parent, advice you would give them about the process and the journey going forward.
Yes. So if I had to give advice, parents, coaches, players, anybody who receives it, I would say number one, run your own race. Like your story is not somebody else's story, and God specifically designed it that way. Everybody's different for a reason. So run your own race and just trust your process. And I always say work hard. They say everybody works hard nowadays, but be your best. You don't have to be somebody else's best. You don't have to live up to other people's expectations. Like as long as you are your best every single day, you wake up, you'll be fine, and you can become whatever you want to become. And definitely don't get caught up in the politics as far as sports is concerned, because it'll have you thinking that you have to do this or that you can't do this, or even with like the mid-major conversation we had on the show today, like you can go wherever you want to go and make it from there if you stay focused, stay driven, work hard, and trust the process. So that would be the advice I give.
Love it. I want you to close us out, Kyla.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in today. Make sure you guys follow Jada at her. What do you want them to follow you?
Yes. So my Instagram is at the Jada Lewis, @the THE Jada JADA Lewis LEWIS.
Okay. Make sure you guys go follow us, and make sure you guys go follow Jada and us on all of our platforms. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.